So you're looking for a car that's cheap, fun, and reliable, but you have a budget of $3,000. Well, I've got some of the best vehicles that you can find for that price point in this video, so stick around until the end because you won't believe what you can get for that amount of money. Coming in at number 8 is a vehicle that most of you probably don't even know exists. I know that you all know about the MX-5 Miata, of course, because it's a famous vehicle. But have you ever heard of the front-wheel drive Miata? I'm talking about the Mazda MX-6. Based on the Ford Probe, this front-wheel drive sport coupe is extremely fun, available with either a 4-cylinder or a V6 and a 5-speed manual transmission. You can find this vehicle for well under $3,000 in perfect condition. Not only that, but it gets great gas mileage and it looks amazing while doing it. With a budget of $3,000, you probably think that it would be hard to look rich, but it's not. For example, the Chrysler 300. You can find these in relatively good condition for under $3,000, but be aware that you're probably going to be getting the base model version with either a 2.7 or 3.5 liter V6. But with that in mind, they look amazing. You can get them with either rear or all-wheel drive. And not only that, but they have a massive aftermarket community, and they honestly look amazing for the price. Have you ever wanted to drive a Bentley? Well, this is the car for you. Not only does it have the looks, but it's also got a relatively luxurious interior. It comes with full leather seats, and it can be optioned with either heated seats and tons of other luxury features. Just be aware that they're not the most reliable, especially with the 2.7 liter V6. However, if you can find one with the 3.5, it's quite reliable. Or if you get really lucky, you can find one with the 5.7 liter V8, and they're very reliable for what they are. Back to Japanese sport coupes for a minute. We can't go on without talking about the Mitsubishi Eclipse 3rd generation. They only come with front-wheel drive, but that shouldn't deter you from this fun sport coupe because it's still available with either an inline-4 or a V6 plus a manual transmission, so what more could you want? Not only that, but they've stood the test of time, and in my opinion, they look great. Not only that, but they're quite reliable, and parts for them are everywhere, and they're extremely cheap. Not to mention, they look great. And back to the land of freedom for a minute, we have a car that has a terrible reputation. It's the Dodge Dart Rally 1.4 with the 6-speed manual transmission. The Dodge Dart has a terrible rep, honestly. It's generally unreliable, but you can find them really cheap because of that. And if you get the Rally with the 1.4 turbo and a manual transmission, you get a 1.4 liter turbo inline-4, which makes 160 horsepower plus a 6-speed manual. I personally have driven these and they are extremely fun. They shift great. They handle amazing for being front-wheel drive. And in my opinion, they look really good. They have a pretty good aftermarket community. Just be aware that the reliability on these isn't the greatest. But if you want one as a second car or even just like a weekend vehicle, that's exactly what these are built for. They're extremely fun and they're extremely cheap. And now that we're moving into the top 3 vehicles, this is where things really get interesting. One vehicle that I've always loved, but I've never really talked about on this channel, other than in my video specifically about trucks, and if that's what you like, go check it out after this, is the Ford F-150 12th Gen, specifically with the 5-liter Coyote. This vehicle is such a bargain. You get an amazing, reliable power plant, and if you throw a supercharger on that, you're looking at Hellcat power for Honda Civic prices. And I know it sounds absolutely stupid, like why would anybody throw a supercharger on a truck, right? Well, a lot of people do it, believe it or not. And these trucks look absolutely amazing, and you can get them in any configuration you want. Obviously, it'll be harder to find one with no rust or in mint condition with the 5-liter for under $3,000, but that does not mean that it's impossible at all. They come with a 5-liter V8, making almost 400 horsepower, plus a 6-speed automatic transmission with a manual shifting mode if that's what you're into. And these engines come with forged internals from the factory. That means that you can throw some forced induction at them and they'll take it like a champion. You can have an easy muscle truck for around $10,000 after you do all the mods and things to it. But not only that, they look great, and being a truck, they have a massive aftermarket following, like most trucks have, of course. But nonetheless, I really recommend this vehicle if you want something that you can take everywhere. Plus, if you slam these on their nuts, they look really, really good. In my opinion, this is one of the best looking F-150s, other than the newest F-150, which in my opinion is the greatest looking truck on the market today. But if you want a muscle car killer, take a look at this vehicle. And sticking with American cars for the second to the best entry, I'm of course talking about the Chevy Cobalt SS Supercharged. I love these vehicles, and if you want a vehicle that will probably never be replicated, like, let's be real, this was such a weird vehicle for Chevy to make, but it paid off so much because you can get a supercharged inline four with 205 horsepower for just $3,000 in pretty good condition. They come with a 5-speed manual, and all you gotta do is throw on a cold air intake, and I'd suggest getting it tuned, otherwise it's not really gonna have any effect. And that mixed with the supercharger will not only give you a little more power, but it will enhance the sound so much, you'll be able to hear it screaming from miles away. And in my opinion, these vehicles look really good. And they come as 2-door coupes. They handle pretty good for what they are. They don't weigh a whole lot. They're pretty much a Honda Civic, but cooler and a lot less reliable. And coming in at the number 1 spot on the list, this is one of the vehicles that I personally love and I highly recommend, but not as a daily driver, is the BMW 335i. These vehicles come with the German 2JZ, which is an amazing engine. It's technically called the N54, but it's such a good engine for tuning. It's pretty reliable, kind of, like, I mean, by BMW standards, which nowadays are pretty high, but back in the 2000s, they didn't have the greatest reputation for reliability. But nonetheless, these vehicles look amazing. I love them. Most people love them. And they're only one step down from the M3, but they still drive kind of like an M3. But at the end of the day, they're not. They're still like mid-level BMWs, but nonetheless, they're great vehicles. I love them. They look amazing, especially when they're modded. And on the topic of mods, they have a massive aftermarket, so if that's what you're into, you can of course do just about anything to these vehicles. And they of course come with what many people call the German 2JZ, which is an amazing engine if you're just looking to tune it, modify it, or if you want a good daily driver. These come with tons of luxury features, of course, being a BMW. They are luxurious. And overall, for the price, if you get one for $3,000, be aware that it's not going to be in all that good of a condition, but that doesn't make it a bad vehicle. You might have to invest a little bit into it, but that's fine because what you're getting is totally worth it in the end. And that brings us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed, please check out some more of my videos, hit the like button, subscribe, and tell me some more cool vehicles that you guys like for under $3,000.